Report story. By Live 9596. Summary. Class 1A find themselves affected by an amnesia quirk while Izuku is away, making them forget he ever existed. Izuku takes this chance to rebrand himself away from the nervous shy kid they all know. Equals 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 dot. Chapter 1. Izuku was grateful. Any chance to go see his mom was always amazing. The little-time heroes in training have to relax and unwind piles on more and more pressure for a young person to deal with, and seeing his mom seems to help ease all those tensions at once. Aizawa had granted him permission to head out and make the journey home. His other classmates weren't as lucky. He counted his lucky stars his mom lived quite close. Midoriya, you're so lucky. You get permission to go relax for the day, dude. Kaminari was half jealous and half happy for his friend. I guess. It's only a one-day visit though. I haven't seen my mom in ages. He realized the second he said it could have been seen as ungrateful. The rest of his class missed their families too. True. This is why you should enjoy yourself, Midoriya, but he ready to continue your learning when you return. Iida kept the same energy he'd always held, with a firm handshake to his friend. Gee, thanks, Iida. It's only for a day though. Mina popped her head out from nowhere to interject. True, but you'll be missed. By some more than others. She grinned and nudged an unsuspecting Uraraka into Midoriya, the latter catching her before she collided with him. They quickly realized their position and flung themselves from each other, faces red. Sorry, Uraraka. I'll see you soon anyway. Not just you, of course. Everyone else too. Ha ha. It's okay, Deku. I'm glad you get to see your mom again. We'll see you soon. I'll miss you. She smiled at him before noticing his blushing face again, going over what she just said in her head. We'll miss you. I mean, silly me. She tried to tune out the various voices of her friends snickering behind her. Izuku, as ever, seemed oblivious anyway. Oh, of course. Goodbye, all. He waved to them as they called out their goodbyes, leaving the building to head for the train station. Checking out of the UA gates, hearing them rise behind him, he started for his home. Excited to get to relax for even just the day. Back in the common room of Heights Alliance, the students had already dispersed to head back to what they were doing. While Ochako lingered, eyes cast through the front door. Something wrong, Chaco. She jumped out her skin when Mina's voice brushed by her ear. Mina, and no, nothing wrong. Why do you ask? That seemed to only fuel the pink girl's devious smile more. No reason. Hey, I wonder if he has some friends from his childhood waiting at home. Maybe some cute girl from his middle school. Hopefully he doesn't forget about us. Ochako tried not to let the image of Izuku happily greeting a girl back at him home enter her mind. The two of them hugging tightly, as he tells her he's glad to finally be away from those girls in his class. Too late. She swiveled on her heels to face her friend again. I think I'm gonna call him. Make sure he gets to the station safe, you know. Mina nodded with a look that said, really now? Because of the increase in villain activity, of course. I don't want him getting in trouble. Sounds smart, Ochako. Make sure to tell him to keep an eye on his surroundings. Tell him to be on the lookout for the League. Tell him he's handsome. Ochako nodded along in agreement as she spoke. Promoted stories. You'll also like. Her prince from the underworld, half demon is. 0.26.3K 462. It's basically the same story as my succubus Momo X Deku story. I know. Real original, but hey, now you guys get a Deku from the other side of the tracks. The Heroes Return MHAXJJK, ongoing 116K 1.7K and Quad, Izuku. Midoriya, after being betrayed and killed, vanishes leaving hurt people behind. After 2 months and a hack, he come back. Changed. How will the class free Oni shots 150K3K? This is a collections of free X readers. Requests on this are now closed. I am sequel of you are check mark 69.5K 1.8K. This book is the sequel of You Are, so better read that first before going here. Tears of joy, tears of joy. Thank you to that one reader that suggested this title. I can't see you sad face, but thank you. Return of Mokuden discontinued 3.5K 45. This story is officially up for adoption. If anyone is interested, message me or comment on the story. Izuku's Harem Academia 192K 1.8 Qst. Read. Finished. 28.6K 508 tilde he save all of them, just a smile plastered on his face before disappearing through the wind. I will. I'll be right back. She jogged past her friend towards her dorm room. Mina just sat and smiled. 3, 2, 1. A loud screech came from the direction of the staircase, with Ochako poking her head back out from around the wall. Not that part. Too easy. 5 miles away. And you say it will spread through the whole of the school. A rough-looking man in a beat-up costume sat face to face with another similarly roughed-up woman. Of course, I assure you that my quirk has never disappointed before. And it will not this time either. The woman lowered her gas mask slightly and winked at the man, who seemed almost disgusted. It better not, or there will be consequences. You say it'll cause the commotion for an hour. She nodded back to him. Give or take, yes. What exactly is your plan here? Here, he frowned, indicating he didn't want to answer, but went on with his explanation anyway. Once the amnesia gas you secrete reaches UA's ventilation system through the mains, everyone will be in a state of confusion and be full of openings. I'll slip into the school grounds, lowering the UA barrier with my technological communication quirk, and find the teachers' offices, where I'll collect as much data on school plans and events for the future. Once your quirk wears off, they'll have no memory of it ever happening. The plan certainly intrigued the woman, though the reward seemed a tad boring. What good will these plans do exactly? She couldn't think of many possible benefits to stealing such basic information. The League, they hold a grudge against this school, and All Might. I have no doubt they'll pay good money for a laid out timetable telling them All Might's whereabouts. Okay, I'm into. We still plan on doing it tonight. He nodded in reply, standing to head for the building's exit. Come, we'll make these hero idiots forget everything. Night time, a dangerous hour for UA and its security. Which is why Hound Dog was always extra precautious during his sweeps. Following the tree line at the edges of the grounds, he saw nothing out of the ordinary. Turning towards his school to head in for the night, his superior sense of smell detected an anomaly. A smell UA has not held before. He could already tell from his nose that this scent was malicious, so he reached for his earpiece to contact the school. Attempting to get through to Principal Nezu. But he had no luck, no reply for any of his colleagues. It made him very uneasy, so he decided to head back to the main campus. It didn't take long, getting to the main buildings, but the malicious smell had grown in strength exponentially. He adjusted the upgraded muzzle around his nose to activate its gas mask setting, but as it closed around his snout, he detected a new foreign smell approaching the front of the UA barrier. So he headed over there. Upon arriving, he heard a faint murmuring on the other side, so he steeled himself ready. Then out of nowhere, the UA barrier began to lower, with the devious cackle of the foreign sense origin sounding out. Once the gate fully lowered, a man stepped through, completely unaware of the pro-hero's position to his side. The anger began to bubble in Hound Dog at the sight of an intruder, which made the man spin to face him in panic. Shit. A quick leap onto his target and Hound Dog had the man subdued, ready to take inside for questioning. Nezu woke the next day with a strange sensation in his mind. He had remembered last night, drinking a cup of green tea to soothe himself before preparing to sleep, then a sudden odd feeling. And no memory of events after that. It was concerning, to say the least. Which was why he was all the more thankful UA had Hound Dog employed, who came into his office in the morning with a strange explanation. The talking and the barriers lowering seem to indicate he has a quirk to manipulate technology, which wouldn't explain the memory issues experienced by all on campus last night. Hound Dog nodded in agreement. There is a chance he wasn't working alone, but how this quirk was administered is beyond me. Nezu took a moment to analyze the possibilities, before settling on the most realistic option. Perhaps the ventilation systems were tampered with, passing an odorless gas through to neutralize us, which makes me even more thankful you were here. He almost thought Hound Dog had blushed for a second. Thank you, Principal. But I was simply doing my job. The criminal is in custody now. We should just wait and observe the school day, find out if any more happened than just the attempted break-in. Indeed, I'll inform the teachers to look out for any peculiar comings and goings. Now, I believe classes are starting, so we shall make some judgments afterwards. Heights Alliance. Ochako woke with a start. She hadn't got the best night's sleep, but it wasn't exactly uncommon. A mix of bad dreams and mental fatigue from training as a hero kept her awake. Her head did feel more cloudy than normal though, but she chalked it down to a bad morning. She got ready for the day, getting her uniform on and headed into the common room. Some of the earlier risers already sat eating their breakfast, while others stirred around the room in hushed conversations about the day. She made her way over to the couch with Suyu and Jiro, sitting beside her green-haired friend. Friend. Good morning, Ochako. How are you, Hiro? Jiro joined with a wave in between sips of coffee. Morning, you two. I've had a strange morning myself. The two girls shared a questioning look, then turned back to her. You have. She nodded. Huh. So we were just talking about it actually. We were just talking about it actually. I. You have. She nodded. Huh. So have we. We were just talking about it actually. I guess it's going round today. Everyone's here, right? I've just got a strange feeling we're missing something. Jiro shrugged her shoulders as she took a look around the room. I think so. Doesn't look like anyone's missing. She left her friends to their conversation and moved to the kitchen. Heading over to grab her mug to pour some coffee. Hopefully caffeine would solve my problems. Mina poked her head into the kitchen area, grinning evilly at her brown-haired friend. Problems, huh? I said that out loud. Say, could these problems be to do with? She trailed off, looking unsure of herself. Mina, everything okay? Yeah, just forgot what I wanted to say. I think I wanted to tease you. Ochako chuckled at her friend's forgetfulness. Well, I'm glad you forgot then. Coffee. Her friend nodded enthusiastically, which made her laugh again. Though it still weighed on her mind. The uneasy feeling Suyu and Jiro had felt, Mina's uncharacteristic forgetfulness, it was a weird morning. Izuku headed down the road towards UA's entrance. The day off he'd had with his mom was as good as his trips home always were. They left him refreshed and ready to dive into heroics again, reminding him of what he was striving to protect. The Ua barrier recognized him and he stepped inside. He was slightly pressed for time and his classmates must be getting ready for class right now. He'd need to get in the dorms and head to get changed quickly. He reached the doorway and headed inside. His friends all sat in the common room waiting to head out to lessons. He figured he'd say hello once they'd left. Time was of the essence right now. The elevator was out of service, so he headed up the staircase towards his floor, running into Ciro part way up. Hey Ciro, I've gotta hurry. See you in a minute. Ciro stared at the green-haired boy in complete confusion. He was about to call out to him, but the boy disappeared onto one of the floors. Ciro decided to head to the common room anyway, maybe let Mr. Izawa know once he was there. Whoever that boy was, he knew his name at least. Hey guys. He headed toward the main bulk of his classmates, getting their attention. Did anyone else see that green-haired guy come in just now? His friends all looked on in confusion. Green hair. The only green-haired person in our class is Suyu. Hiroshima piped up from the side. Well, yeah, but some green-haired dude just ran past me on the stairs. He knew my name too. There was a collective pause as the students tried to figure out what was going on. That's a bit concerning, no? Their vice class rep, Momo, put down her cup of tea to join in. It is we should contact Mr. Aizawa immediately. An intruder is a serious issue. Iida waved his hands momentarily, before standing and heading to their homeroom teacher's accommodation. The other students stayed sat in their seats, having intermittent discussions about the potential of a villain in their dorms. You don't think he has to do with the weird morning we've all been having, do you? Off in their own small group of three, Ochako whispered to Jiro and Suyu. The fact they'd all collectively felt uneasy to start the day was one thing. A now apparent intruder almost seemed like it couldn't be coincidence. I mean, maybe. We'll just have to see what happens when Sensei gets here. Suyu nodded at Jiro, with all students turning their heads as their teacher entered the room. What's this about an intruder? The sensors would have detected them by now. This is illogical. Your classes start soon. The underground hero seemed as disinterested as ever. I'm not lying, Sensei. Ciro gestured to the staircase. Some green-haired guy literally just ran past me. Aizawa stared his student down for a second, finding no signs of dishonesty. He sighed. Fine, I'm going to check it out. You stay here, Iida. Call for backup if I don't return in 5 minutes. Iida gave him a salute and the teacher left. He began to sweep the floors, finding no signs of life in any of the dorm rooms. That was, until he heard a faint shuffling from one of the doors. He prepped his capture weapon and nudged the door open slightly. Inside there was a green-haired boy, the same age as his students, prepping a school bag. He wore the UA uniform and was vaguely familiar, but Aizawa couldn't put his finger on where from. Ahem. The boy in question jumped out of his skin and turned to face the source of the noise, visibly settling when he saw the pro-hero at the door. Knows who I am, maybe. Ah, sensei. Can I help you? I'm not late, am I? Sensei. So he does know me. I believe you're in the wrong dorms. You know sneaking around like this could face a heavy punishment. The boy looked very confused, then settled with a smirk on his face. I didn't know you could joke like that, sensei. Ms. Joke just be rubbing off on you. Aizawa was starting to get annoyed, ignoring what I said, laughing at my request, and he knows I have a relationship with Emmy. His quirk shot to life, with his eyes glowing and hair standing on its end, mainly as an intimidation tactic. Last chance, leave this room and these dorms, or I'll have you in much more trouble than just a warning to your homeroom teacher. The boy was now skittish and slightly afraid. Good to know I'm still intimidating. Sensei. It's me, Izuku Midoriya. I've been in your class for a year now. What's going on? What? I've never heard of you, and you're trespassing right now. You're coming with me. Before the boy could even voice his concerns, he was wrapped in the teacher's capture weapon, being carried down the stairs towards the common room. Sensei, please. This is gonna be so embarrassing when everyone sees me. It won't be, because they have no idea who you are. That answer seemed to satisfy the green-haired intruder, or confuse him more. Either way, he was quit now. He rounded the corner and the rest of his students started to talk between themselves as an unknown boy was held in Aizawa's capture weapon, before being dropped in front of them all. Ow! Izuku turned to the rest of his classmates, with a pleading expression. Guys, please, tell sensei who I am. I think he's been hit with a quirk or something. Something. The students all looked at each other, confused. Dude, we have no idea who you are. Izuku felt his heartbeat go crazy as Kaminari spoke. The whole class must have been hit with a quirk. This could be dangerous. Wah, I've been in your class for a year. We've been through thick and thin together. USJ, summer camp, the Hasaikai raid. His classmates were frowning. Clearly they were confused about how he knew so much, but had no idea who he was. Really? Iida, Todoroki, Kachan. Bakugo flinched at the name, something in the back of his mind pairing the word with anger and hate. Where the hell did you hear that nickname? Broccoli Head. Broccoli Head. Really? I guess it's better than damn nerd. I've called it you since we were kids. Don't you remember? He didn't even reply, just frowning deeply. Izuku turned his head to the table with three girls on it, spotting his potential way in. Uraraka. She pointed her head up as the class looked at her. Uraraka, it's me, Deku. Remember, please, we're best friends. She furrowed her brow in confusion, which felt like a knife to the heart. I'm sorry, I don't know you. Yeah, and it's a bit weird to say you're best friends to a girl you don't know. Mina had her hands on her hips, looking at his with an unsuspecting, terrifying gaze. Mina, what about how much you tease us? About. You know. She shook her head, while Ochako clicked on to what he was hinting at, blushed slightly. That's enough. I'm taking you to see the principal. You've given us no proof, and you're starting to cause trouble. Proof? Yes. He gritted his teeth about how embarrassed he may normally be about this, but these circumstances were far from normal. Wait, sensei. I have proof. That you all know me at least. The worn down teacher sighed. Well, what is this proof? Izuku pulled his phone out his pocket, steeled his nerves, and unlocked it. His home screen was a selfie of him and Uraraka, both smiling happily with Uraraka's arm around his shoulders. Taken when they were eating for the first time at summer camp. He showed it to his teacher, who raised an eyebrow. Then took the phone to Uraraka. You say you have no memory of this, Uraraka. She looked at the image, still no idea who the boy was. But they seemed to be close, like he said. And looking at him brought about an uncomfortable twisting sensation in her stomach. And no, sorry. Izuku started walking over with determination. This isn't fake either. It's also the icon for our messages on our phones. If you check her phone, it should be there too. Uraraka pulled out her phone and opened the messages for the first time that morning, and like he'd said, their chat was at the top of the list with that same selfie as the icon. He's right. It seems we message often too, sometimes about the work you said even. Aizawa took a moment to think, looking at the boy in front of him. Clearly he was a UA student. There's no way he'd have gotten onto the grounds otherwise, and he had the uniform. And he seemed to have connections to his students dating back at least a couple of months. With proof it tied to his homeroom lessons. So what is it? A quirk? He pulled out his phone to contact Nezu, only to see an email awaiting him already. Thwarted villain encounter. Potential amnesia quirk in the ventilation system. Look out for any anomalies. Anomalies. What did you say your name was again? He looked down at the green haired kid, who seemed to be at least slightly more relaxed. Midoriya. Izuku Midoriya. The pro hero turned to his class, who were listening to everything eagerly. Everyone, I believe Midoriya here is part of your class. The discussion broke out between his students, voicing their confusions, only to be silenced by Aizawa's quirk activating. I have reason to believe there was an attempted villain attack on the school last night. It failed, However, an amnesia-style gas was distributed in the ventilation system of the entire school. This may be blocking your memory of Midoriya. Why just him though? I do not know. Izuku stroked his chin in thought. That explanation may make sense about his current predicament, but why only him? Unless, I think I know why, sensei. He pulled the teacher's attention. I was visiting my mom yesterday, only I wasn't in the dorms at the time of the attack. Perhaps that explains everyone's block of me. Me, most likely. I'm heading to the principal's office to inform him of this. You can all prepare for lesson as normal. And I suppose get reacquainted with Midoriya here. Aizawa turned and made his way out the dorms, leaving behind some slightly stunned students. Midoriya made his way over to one of the seats, taking a moment to relax and consider the ramifications of this quirk. How long will they forget me? Could it be forever? Would all the friendships I've made up until now be for nothing? So, Midoriya, tell us about yourself. Again, I guess. He looked at Sato, who had asked a pretty deep question. Izuku thought over how he should answer. There were a multitude of ways he could introduce himself again, maybe have a better first impression this time. Or, I could have some fun with it, rebrand myself from the nervous shy kid they knew me as a bit of a personality change. Glad you all decided to start asking the smart questions. He paused to wink at Ochako, fighting tooth and nail to maintain his composure. How about we start at the beginning? Chapter 2. I'm sorry. You're saying you beat Overhaul. The last 30 minutes had been stocked full of questions about Izuku and his life at Ua, and he'd been doing his best to refrain from falling back into the nerdy analytic persona they'd all known him for. He wasn't that tough really, and I had to protect Eri, you know. She's like my little sis. The students looked at him in awe, knowing from those who'd been there just how monstrous Chisaki had become. Bro, that's so manly. Hiroshima held out his fist, which Izuku happily fist bumped. Hey, you were great too. Heard you and Fat kicked those two guys' asses. Well, I mean, it was going very well, as far as Izuku was concerned. And it was very funny to see their reactions to his stories. He still intended to keep up this cool guy facade he was putting on. He didn't know how long this quirk would be in effect or whether they'd revert back to knowing him from before, but he'd cross that bridge when he got there. You know, I think when I look back on that fight, I'm starting to see you in that memory again. I remember seeing you rocket off as you kicked him super far into the sky. This was the first time Ochako had spoke to him since he winked at her. He knew why. She was always easy to embarrass. He also figured he could use this fake confident personality to finally get the courage to say something to her. For now though, flirting would do. Oh, you know. He smiled at Ochako mischievously. I tried to give you a show. She started to blush furiously again and looked down at the table in front of her, but she couldn't hide the smile on her face. Say, you're pretty funny. He turned to face Mina, who was suddenly right near his face, and he was fighting like hell to not blush. And flirty, it's pretty cool. But only, Chaco over there, no love for me. Oh shit, I've already gone too far. How the hell do I fix this? Oh, it's like an inside joke between me and Uraraka, you know. We're pretty close and we flirt with each other to annoy each other. Yeah, sorry. She backed away slightly and pouted. No fair. An awkward silence hung over the group for a few seconds, with Izuku trying his best to look uninterested and brooding while he thought of a backup plan. So, I guess you got to know me a bit. It's time for class though right now, right? With that Iida shot up from his seat. Indeed it is Midoriya. We must prioritize learning to ensure our future as heroes is intact. Let us go. Go. He moved towards the door and gestured his hands at everyone to get moving, which the class regretfully did. Izuku chose to walk alongside Kaminari, Kirishima, Kachan and Siro on his way, as the boys had mobbed him the second they left to get more info. They all seemed as friendly as they'd always been to him, and the excess attention he was getting with the guys trying hard to be his friends felt good. Even though Kachan has been giving me side-eye the whole time. That whole business with Muscular sounded super manly. Didn't it, Bakubro? Kirishima nudged his friend, who looked annoyed. As usual. TCH, I think this nerd is lying. He doesn't seem all that tough. Dude, sorry Midoriya. This is how he is. Izuku waved off Siro. He prepared on how to deal with Kachan. Don't worry. I know. I grew up with Kachan actually. He was never friendly or anything, but we respected each other. It's more you had to show him your worth to get on his good side, which I did. Might have to do it again though, huh? Complete bullshit, but maybe I'll get a fresh start with him. Bakugo scoffed, though with less murderous intent than he normally held. Does that mean it got through to him? Hey, I'm gonna go walk with some others before we get to class. Try to reacquaint with everyone you know. Sure, dude, you do you. Izuku waved to the small group and headed up towards the girls. They'd seemed the least sure of him since he'd arrived today, and he intended on fixing that. Hey everyone, how's it hangin'? He tried to smile warmly at the group to set their minds at ease, but it didn't seem to work all too well. Hello Midoriya. We were just talking about you, hero. Izuku's heart started to beat a little faster. Damn nerves. Only good stuff I hope. He joked, but it didn't seem to ease tensions. We're still deciding that. Jiro didn't tend to pull her punches. Oh, sorry. I'm just trying to get things back to normal, you know. Some of the girls nodded, feigning disinterest. Did I used to call you Deku? Izuku looked at Ochako with a little bit of shock, which made her nervous she'd offended him. Sorry, but I saw it was your name in my contacts, and I'd message it you when I spoke to you. I used to call you that. Yeah, it was my nickname in my childhood. It was meant to mean useless, as an insult. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'll. Izuku cut her off with a dismissive wave. Don't worry, it doesn't mean that from you. You thought it was my name when we first met, said it sounded like, you can do it. So I said you could call me, it made it my hero name too. So you and Ochako are super close, like you said. He couldn't see the face, but he recognized the voice. And the floating uniform. Yeah, we've been really close since we saved each other in the entrance exam. We did. He nodded and smiled, making her heart flutter in a funny way. But why? Well, if you're that close to Uraraka, I suppose we can trust you. The girls all agreed with Momo, and he seemed nice enough anyway. And I mean, you've got each other on your home screens on your phones. Clearly you're very close. The pink-haired girl with her devious smile was always on the ball to tease the two, not that they know that. I mean, of course I do. He's smokin' hot. Izuku nearly choked to death on nothing, failing to keep his composure like he'd been doing so far today. What? She started to turn pink too, confused by his question. We tease each other right? By flirting. Isn't that what you said? I didn't think she'd actually join in. Oh why yeah. Sorry, I thought you wouldn't since you didn't know me. Good save Izuku. Nah, it's okay. I know now we were best friends. I'm happy to carry it on if you want to. I can't cope with her flirting with me. Oh, sure, whatever you want. I'm losing my mind. The class finally arrived at the door to 1A, where they slowly filtered in and took their seats. A couple of them waited to watch where Izuku would sit down, but after realizing they couldn't remember anyone in that seat, they relaxed. Only a couple of minutes later Aizawa finally re-entered the room, commanding the students to sit down to address them in their homeroom time. Now, I've spoken to Principal Nezu, and he's confirmed Midoriya is in our class. Secondly, you have heroics with All Might today, so I believe you should disclose your quirk to the rest of the room, to negate the temporary advantage you have over everyone. He gestured to Izuku and the whole class turned to face him. He gulped slightly then settled back into the confidence he was faking. Yeah, of course sensei. My quirk is one superpower. It lets me boost my physical abilities, like speed, strength, durability. If I use too much though it can damage me. I've broken my arms and legs at least 2 times each since we started at UA. An almost gasp could be heard from the back of the room as the students recoiled at that last part. And I thought my quirk had a bad backlash. Ignore Kaminari. You have enough control to participate in spars and drills. Yes, sensei. Good. Now, on to homeroom. Izuku let the voice of his teacher fade into the background as he explained whatever it was they were doing today. Heroics was gonna be fun. They'd only heard about his quirk. The recent boost in his percentage limit was going to surprise them all. He'd comfortably beat the class with that element of surprise. Wait, should I have told them about Blackwhip? Well, too late now. He continued with Aizawa in autopilot, his mind thinking up ways to use his quirk to his advantage and beat his classmates. He was pulled out his reverie when the door to the room slid open, with All Might stepping in with his trademark shout of, I am here, despite being in permanent skinny form. Wait, All Might, he has no idea I'm his successor. Oh, this is gonna be a weird conversation. Aizawa called out to the former number one hero as he left the room. All Might, I take it you read Nezu's email this morning. I did not, Aizawa. My apologies. Of course you didn't. The school was the subject of an attempted attack. Hound Dog stopped it. Gas was pumped through the vents. Nobody remembers Midoriya over there. The blond man looked to the other side of the room, where a green-haired boy sheepishly waved at him. He is in this class, always has been. So just continue as you would with him. Yes, of course. No worries, young Midoriya. We will be just fine. Now, everyone in their costumes and head to ground beta. All Might gathered the students together to announce the challenge for today's class. Teams of 4, starting at opposite ends of ground beta, worked to capture their opponents. They were each supplied with capture tape, while uses of quirks to subdue also counted. Izuku was drawn into Team B, alongside Yaoyorozu, Jiro and Iida, which he knew could very well be the winning team, but his teammates seemed unsure with him in their ranks. All Might continued on, announcing he'd be facing off against Team D. Uraraka, Bakugo, Siro and Kaminari. Team B took their position at the far end of ground beta and gathered in a huddle to discuss their tactics. Okay, guys, I may not have your full trust yet, but believe me when I tell you, I know Kachan sorry, Bakugo better than anyone. Iida stroked the front of his mask in thought. You did say you two grew up together. Do you believe you may have some insight into how he will approach this scenario? I do. He heard me tell all the stories of defeating Muscular and Overhaul, so he's probably hell-bent on testing my strength. Which makes me think he'll tunnel vision onto me. So you think we should use you as bait? Izuku nodded at Yaoyorozu. It was no surprise she caught onto his plan first. Yes, try to lure him to me when I'm out in the open. Use Jiro to find out when he gets close, and have Iida spring in with his Rec Pyro, perhaps with a trap created by Yaoyorozu. If that's okay with you guys. They looked at him in confusion for a second, which threw Izuku off. Why are they looking at me like that? Wait, I'm meant to be all cool and not care. Shit. I mean this planning stuff is Yaoyorozu's specialty. I figured you'd say something. That seemed to be enough for them, as they relaxed. Oh, of course. I mean, it is as you said, you know Bakugo best. And if you truly believe he'll do that, I think your plan is satisfactory. The three others confirmed they agreed, and Izuku took the lead to explain to them how it would go down. Battle start. With All Might's call they took their positions. Izuku took to a rather open part of ground beta with pipes either side of an opening, slightly obscured at the side. While Jiro sent out some loud pulsating heartbeats, before quickly leaving the area. With the bait set, they waited. And after roughly 2 minutes, Izuku caught sight of the flashing of the mirror Yaoyorozu had created for Jiro, signaling he'd been heard. Izuku casually stepped out from the side, as if he was walking there naturally. He knew Kachan was a hot head, but he wasn't dumb. He'd catch on to an obvious trap. Kachan caught sight of him and started to blast over, with Izuku taking a battle-ready stance. According to plan, Kachan flew in with a big right swing, forgetting Izuku ever knew about it. And Izuku took the opportunity to land a counter-punch to his gut, this time with OFA activated. It stunned the blonde long enough for Izuku to grab his arm and flip him to the floor, jumping on top to restrain him with his quirk active. Iida. Now, the boy in question came blitzing out of the side at full speed, carrying a Tartarus grade straight jacket, courtesy of Yaoyorozu. And as Izuku lifted Bakugo from the floor, the turbo hero clipped it onto his back, watching as the mechanisms turned and clicked into place, securing him completely. Uraraka and Siro were sneaking around the pipes nearer to their starting point with care. Iida had charged through toward them early, gunning straight for Kaminari. He'd picked him up in a bear hug, which warranted the electric user to go all out with a shock to easily subdue Iida right there. As he'd said, he was too dangerous to be kept alive. What he didn't know is that Iida was wearing a thick rubber jumpsuit under his armor, which completely nullified his electricity. And with him in way mode, Iida charged off in the other direction with him on his back. Shortly after, they heard the booming voice of All Might calling out, "Denki Kaminari has been captured." "Hey, what do you think has happened with Bakugo?" Siro whispered to Uraraka from her side. "I don't know, but I wish he hadn't just run off like that, even if he did want to test Deku." Almost immediately, the two heard another booming voice call out, "Katsuki Bakugo has been captured." "Well, I guess that's that. We just need to." Siro instantly stopped talking as he heard the roaring sound of Ida's engines charging at them once again. He instinctively turned and pre-fired a line of tape across the space beside him, which Ida caught his foot on and was sent sprawling across the floor. Uraraka instantly jumped toward him and removed his gravity, preventing his escape and wrapping the capture tape around his helplessly floating body. Tenya Iida has been captured. Nice shot, Zero. He thanks, but we need to. He was cut off yet again by a loud crash approaching. Oh, for the love of SMAAAAAASHHHH. Another huge bang erupted, with the large set of pipes capsizing beside Zero, falling down towards his head. What the fuck, man? Are you trying to kill me? Zero started to spray tape left and right, securing the pipes as they toppled to prevent himself being crushed. We knew you'd be fine. You're pretty good at that. Jiro rounded the corner to slap a pair of handcuffs around his hands as the last piece of tape flew out. Honta Zero has been captured. Man, that's lame. I didn't know Greenie could destroy a damn skyscraper's worth of pipes. Yeah, sorry about that. Izuku surfaced to see Jiro stranded next to a captured Zero, and catch the tail end of Uraraka sneaking away from the scene. He launched himself towards her with full cowl activated, rounding the corner she had. A hand suddenly flew towards him as he turned, and he ducked to the floor, narrowly avoiding his gravity being removed. "Milady, my lord," he laughed, knowing full well that if they'd said that 2 days ago, they'd both be bright red by now. "May I have this dance?" She grinned and dove at him. He slipped the first hand that flew at him, attempting to grab the arm in reply, to have her slip away. They sparred all the time, and they knew each other down to the last detail. Izuku normally ended up playing the bluff game with her. She knew his plan was to fake and strike when you're unbalanced, so he'd vary his approaches to keep her on her toes. But he forgot that she had no idea who he was outside of today, and those fights had never happened. So he tried to bluff the fake, turning it into a real strike, only to have her catch him and shove him off balance, falling to the floor where she capitalized and dove on him. "I guess you fell for me, huh?" She grinned at him and he laughed back. "Oh, you have no idea." She paused with the tape in her hand and looked back at him, a slight pink on her cheeks. But Izuku saw it as an opportunity, rather than a moment between them. He raised his hand and shot Black Whip out, ripping the tape from her hands, then powered up his legs to flip their position, wrapping the tape around her hands. Ochako Uraraka has been captured. Team B wins. Deku. Yeah, care to explain what the hell just came out your hands? He stood up and helped her up off the ground, breaking the tape off her hands. "That's my quirk." "No, no, no, your quirk is superpower, mister. Not tentacle whip thingy." He laughed out loud at her, but she kept the same annoyed pout on her face. "What? You don't like being tied up?" She looked away with a huff as her face grew red again. You're impossible. Sorry. It's like a subset of my quirk. I kinda forgot to mention it earlier." She looked at him with an angry glare again, and he pouted and put on the stupidest sad face he could. He could see her smirk fighting through the frown. "Ugh, you're lucky I like you, or I'd beat you up right now." Jiro approached the two round the corner, stepping up to them with an eyebrow raised. "Hey, sorry I interrupted your confession, but we need to head back." The two teens turned to her with blank faces, sharing a brief glance before looking anywhere but each other. "Uh, yeah, good point. Let's go." "Good job, everyone. We shall discuss the results of the fight shortly. For now, young Midoriya, do you have two quirks?" "Yeah, what the hell was that dude?" "You didn't tell us about that." "That's cheating. TCH, the damn nerd pussied out of our fight too. I knew you were full of shit." Kachan walked up to him angrily, glaring at him with an intent to kill. "I didn't pussy out of anything, Kachan. I beat you fair and square. You were naive to think we'd just fist fight one-on-one in the middle of a drill." "Drill. You." Bakugo stopped with a hand on his shoulder, turning to see All Might looking at him with disappointment. "Calm down, young Bakugo. And he's right. Pride can be your downfall in a fight. Never expect the enemy to play along with your script." Script. The blond boy huffed in annoyance and walked away, with the teacher turning back to Izuku. "So, multiple quirks." "No, it's all one quirk. It's hard to explain." That seemed to be enough for All Might, who nodded and turned back to the screen. Back to the screen. They went over the events of the fight for the next 5 minutes, showing Iida and Yaoyorozu's tactic to neutralize Kaminari. Then Bakugo and Sero's demise. All Might complimented the team's cohesion and tactics, before coming to Izuku and Uraraka's fight. Now, this seemed to be fairly even until this part. Young Midoriya, care to explain? The screen showed Izuku playing right into Uraraka's hands, being caught off balance. We normally spar a lot, and we know each other's moves down to a T. It was my attempt to bluff her out of knowing my approach, but I forgot she doesn't remember any practices with me. All Might nodded in agreement. That's fair enough, I suppose. Now, at this point you acted on it successfully, young Uraraka. However, given the chance to subdue your opponent here, you hesitated. And regardless of the unknown aspect of young Midoriya's quirk, it lost you the bout. Are you aware why your concentration slipped? She looked at the screen, thinking back to the moment in the match. I guess you fell for me, huh? Oh, you have no idea. Ochako suddenly averted her gaze from her teacher, feeling her face heat up. With some of the girls snickering in the background. All Might clocked onto what was going on. Well, I suppose you must be ready for all types of distractions in battles from villains. So be more aware of these in the future. And be ready to fight. She nodded her head, still looking down slightly. Regardless of how handsome you find your opponent to be. She nearly choked, hiding her face. Izuku, meanwhile, found his mind was going a mile a minute. Handsome. That can't mean me, right? No, there's no way. That's why she's hiding herself. But another voice in his head was telling him it was about him, and he should confess. Calm down, man. Okay, moving on. The lesson continued with the other groups fighting each other. And with some questions from his classmates about why he was furiously writing notes in a notebook with every passing second, the scenarios came to a close. But while all the students began to head back to the locker rooms, Izuku hung back slightly, waiting for All Might. Uh, excuse me, All Might. The blond man turned to him with a smile. Young Midoriya, how may I help you? It's about my quirk. The symbol of peace turned his head slightly in confusion, gesturing for him to continue. Well, you might have noticed it's similar to yours, and I shout, smash, when I use it. He chuckled at Izuku. I did, my boy. It's touching to see I have a dedicated fan. Well, that's just it, I'm not just a fan. Oh, what do you mean, young man? Well, you see, my quirk isn't called superpower, it's called one for all. He former hero jerked forward in surprise with a spout of blood leaving his mouth. I. What? Who are you? Are you from the League? Attacking me on UA campus would be a terrible decision, young man. No, no, All Might. I'm your successor. You forgot me because of the amnesia quirk. He leaned in and cupped his mouth with his hand, changing to a whisper. You passed on one for all to me before I started at UA. I was quirkless and you offered it to me. The man took a moment to process that information, still looking shocked to his core. I did. Oh, I did. I remember now. The scrawny go-getter fanboy and the sludge incident. I'm so sorry, I forgot, Midoriya, my boy. It's okay, All Might, really. It was the quirk. Everyone at UA yesterday forgot me. Well, I see from today's lesson you've really got a good hold on the quirk. I must have been a good teacher, Do I give him this? Yeah, you are. I've got to head back. I'll speak to you later. All Might made a gesture with his hands like he was shooing him away. Yes, my boy, you can head back now. I'll talk to you soon. Kant. Chapter 3. Where Stories Live. Discover now.